All right, guys. Hi, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. We are Anu and Igor. We're the owners and founders of vinousreverie Wine Merchant based out of Walnut Creek, California. And you're watching the show for the adventurous wine drinker. And we're here today. We are having, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly.
Yes, you will.
I will? Okay, that's the vote of confidence right there. Paltrinieri, Leclisse, Lambrusco di Sorbara, 2019. So it's a Lambrusco.
Yes.
So I think you have an extended introduction to this wine.
We'll have, yes. So this is a single vineyard Lambrusco di Sorbara. So, but you know, what triggered me about this wine is that this is an excellent wine, and we'll get into the details why it's so good. But I want to reference maybe not last week's episode, the episode we had 2 weeks ago,
okay,
when me and you were talking about Sancerre. And I quoted Walter Speller from JensenRobinson.com.
Okay.
He was talking about, the quote was, rising tide raises all ships.
Right, I hadn't heard of that phrase before.
Yeah. So we were kind of referencing, remember, that the premise is that when you have like a grape or region that's branded, it kind of it elevates itself, but then it elevates everything that's surrounding it.
Right.
So I think a good reference point is that, you know, some of the best wines in the world are Napa Cabernets, and they became some of the most expensive wines in the world. But then all the mediocre Napa Cabernets also
started
went
trading
up in
on
price.
their good name, right?
Yes, started trading on a good name. And I was kind of using Walter Speller's quote to kind of make a point how we were talking about Sancerre, which is a famous region for Sauvignon Blanc, but there are lesser regions around Sancerre that make also excellent Sauvignon Blancs, frequently at better price points. It's because Sancerre, it's trading on its name. It's a brand. So just funny enough, right after we did that show, Walter Speller did a review of some Italian wines, including the ones we're tasting right now.
This specific one?
This specific one.
Okay.
And it was so funny what he was mentioning. So talking about this specific wine, it's uncanny how he just referenced again what we were talking about a couple of days before. So this is what he said. He said, Paltrinieri's wines are a steal and are some of the best wines you could get for that kind of money. This fact made me reflect on exactly this aspect. Very good, relatively inexpensive everyday wines are a far better deal than economy versions of brand names and or regions, which are invariably marketed on the basis of the fame of the top wines while being only a shadow of the real stuff. I know what I'd rather spend my money on.
Right. You know, and the other thing is, though, like Lambruscos, the market's been flooded with, I'll just say trash Lambrusco. It's too sweet. And so everybody's like, oh, I've had a Lambrusco, I don't like it. It's like, no, you have not.
Sweet wines, a lot of the Lambrusco. You know,
it's a pity because that's not the true example of what Lambrusco is.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what he was saying, exactly in the context of what we were using. So he used if you guys can understand the quote, let me kind of explain how that works. So the first aspect, he says, wines that capitalize on the fame of the region,
right.
Napa Cab.
Right.
So you have the grand names of like, you know, Harlan Estate. They make, you know, some of the best wines in the world. They're also are some of the most expensive wines in the world. You know, it costs hundreds of dollars, probably close to $1,000. I don't know off the top of my head. But then you get all these Napa Cabs that escalate their prices to like $100 per bottle, which you expect a spectacular wine for that price point, and actually you get mediocre stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the aspects he was referencing. The other aspect, it's actually more of it's a California problem, but it's frequently a Bordeaux problem. And it's the same thing. It's actually something that really annoys me.
Mm-hmm. Does it grind your gears like on the Simpsons?
Well, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Well, because, you know, some of the famous names, they come up with second label wines. So the flagship wines typically cost, once again, hundreds of dollars, typically in the thousands of dollars.
Right.
And then they're like, but here's like a cheaper wine for $100.
Right.
And they're typically, everything I read about them, they're mediocre wines. We're talking about not even 90-point quality level wines. And, you know, it's sometimes I feel like those big names, they're kind of like they're like the royalty, and they're treating their consumers as peasants. They're like, oh, let me throw some crumbs your way.
It's their outlet wine, basically.
Yes, their outlet wine. Yes,
like you couldn't afford the luxury designer bag, but they have outlets for you.
Yeah, you can lick the outside of our bottle.
That's terrible.
Well, but, and, the same here. The same thing. You have like a famous Robert Mondavi wines, and then you have like the really cheap ones where they're trending on the name. It's the same thing,
right?
It's. I feel it's kind of they try to capitalize on the name without giving quality. So that's exactly what Walter Speller is talking about, and this is exactly the wine he's trying to reference.
This is he's trying to promote, right? This is the antithesis to all this. So
yes.
Let's talk about this wine.
Yeah, so it's Lambrusco. So Lambrusco, it's not a region. It's in fact a red grape variety. But it's actually not a red grape variety, right, Anna?
It's like 10, which I didn't
10
understand.
different, grape varieties. So
and they're used in blends.
Yes.
So, okay.
So there's 10 different varieties, and they all start with Lambrusco.
Okay.
So this one we're having is Lambrusco di Sorbara. So it's a particular variation of the grape variety.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you were mentioning earlier, a lot of the mediocre examples that kind of typically flood the supermarket shelves, the cheap ones,
but this is not
white. Yes.
Yeah, this is bone dry and kind of like a rosé. So I'm going to show this rosé type color.
Well, you know what? I don't know if it still has the fizz.
I don't know. I hope that. Well, I'm going to show it off because when I first.
Look at this.
Oh yeah, this is. I mean, it was. It's amazing.
It's a sparkling wine.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the color. So each shade will get more of the color. So it's a light rosé type of color.
Salmon pink, yeah. And it's bone dry, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's great. But anyways, I don't know if we're ready for tasting.
And the smaller producers, it's nice acidity on this wine, and there's different versions. So some of them go with like very little tannin, and to me, there's not much tannin here. To a more deeper color wines with more tannin in them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing about Lambrusco is that it's made in a Charmant style for the most part, which is initially the grape is fermented, and then it's put in the steel tanks. And the bubbles are formed in a steel tank.
Not in the bottle like Méthode Champenoise.
And a lot of the producers, the artisanal producers, they believe that that's actually the better method for Lambrusco. Because it kind of showcases its fruit and terroir better than the traditional method wine.
Okay.
However, there's a few examples, including from the same producer. We're not tasting this wine, but this is his Radici cuvée. And he has kind of like a beer cap.
Yeah.
But this one is done in the traditional method, where the second fermentation took place in the bottle. So it's a sparkling wine, but it's done in a champagne method.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's a bit opaque, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting.
But and this is this is also Lambrusco di Sorbara, but like I say, it's made in a different style.
Okay.
So that's a really cool part about it. Yeah, and then so Lambrusco actually means wild grape.
Yeah.
And it's been around a long time. The Etruscans.
I was like, who are the Etruscans? I didn't know, but apparently they were before the Romans.
Yeah, specifically within the Tuscany region.
I know. Hopefully my history teacher isn't watching. They're probably horrified.
Yeah, and the Romans moved in, and so they have like their military garrisons in that area. So they were drinking.
They had those everywhere.
Yes, well, but especially around Lambrusco because you one of the sparkling wines.
Okay.
So I think the actual region where it's going is Emilia Romagna. So I think you have a bunch of cool photos for that you could showcase to
let me
to our loyal listeners.
Okay. So this is the region. It's beautiful. I feel like they're always beautiful, but there we are, a pictorial of the region. And then I actually have some
go ahead.
The cityscape as well. If I can multitask. So anyways, I think...
go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's super cute, beautiful, landscape. So
the region is famous for a few things. Let's pull up the map because we'll be talking about the region. Okay. So, Pavarotti, the great tenor.
Great, opera singer, right?
Yes, it's also where the fastest car in the world are made: Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati.
Yeah, I got those in the garage. Don't worry.
Not yet. And then it's also some of the famous cheeses are made here.
And prosciutto and balsamic vinegar, of course.
Parmigiana Reggiano, prosciutto di Modena, and balsamic vinegar.
Okay, yeah.
Balsamic di Modena. So as you can see on the map here, you have to really look in the center, and the green sector, that's where Lambrusco di Sorbara is. So it's right there. It's in Modena region.
Okay.
But I actually want to give a little overview about the three other famous, kind of sub-regions. So right above it, in the purple, it's actually Lambrusco Salamino di Santa Croce. And it's interesting because how they grow in different soils, these Lambrusco grapes, and they create different kinds of wines.
Terroir, yeah.
Yes, terroir, yes. So that region, it's on a plain alluvial sediment and sand. So it's Capri is kind of the biggest town in vicinity of that. And the grape is deeper in color than the one that we're having right now. And it has forest fruit as a typical kind of profile, and bigger tannins. And sometimes even higher alcohol than the Sorbara.
Okay.
So Sorbara is kind of in the center. And here we have potassium-rich sandy soils.
Okay.
So it's kind of a counterpart to Salamino. They're more pale ruby, or like rosé-like, and high acidity.
Yep, this is high acidity.
Fine tannins, tart cherry, red fruit, and often more dry. And this is a good pairing with, fish or fatty porks.
Well, actually, now that I've tasted it,
Yes.
I think because it's so high acidity, this is a fantastic wine for a lot of foods, I believe. Like pork, porchetta, because those are rich. But I mean, I think you could pair this with lasagna, with it just pizza, like really rich.
Yes.
Sauces, barbecue. I think it's actually probably a very versatile foodie wine that I hadn't considered before because of the high acidity levels.
Yes.
Anyways.
Well, okay, and the final one, right to the south, it's maybe some of you are more familiar with. It's Lambrusco Grasparossa. And it's, if you ever see Lambrusco that are a deep red color,
Yes.
that's the Lambrusco from that region. It's in the foothills of Castelvetro.
Okay.
And what are the soils here?
There's nothing about soil, is there?
Yeah, it's a sandy
silt. Yeah,
silt. Yeah,
dry sandy silt. Yeah, and they tend to be sometimes sweeter, right? They make medium dry.
Medium dry. And deeper tannins typically.
Okay.
So if you look at it, it's like a red wine with a little fizz on it. This is more like a rosé. Mm-hmm. But the Grasparossa, it's a deeper red.
We've had it before.
We've had it before. It's actually the first one we had in the store was the Grasparossa. So yeah,
the first wine you've ever had in the store?
The first Lambrusco that I had in the store. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And so this is Paltrinieri. So like we were saying, they make 4 different cuvées, but Leclisse is their flagship cuvée. It comes from a single vineyard. And it's a free-run juice. So
what does that mean?
That means that there's not no skin contact.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's why part of the reason why the color is so
pale.
light. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so they obviously the second fermentation takes place in
the tanks.
In the tanks, and then they also rest on lees to give it a little creaminess.
Oh yeah, you can taste it. So I mean, speaking of creaminess, I think the tasting notes are strawberry rhubarb mousse.
Yes.
So I was thinking, I was like, strawberry what? I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, oh, strawberry rhubarb mousse, ginger, and it's just very delightfully foamy. So that was my tasting notes for this wine.
So I think what the coolest thing about this wine is,
it's 95 points from Wine Enthusiast.
Not only is it 95 points. I actually looked up in Jancis Robinson's database, and Walter Speller gave it 17 plus points, which is
A++.
Yeah. Well, so you know what that is? It's actually the highest rated Lambrusco in their whole database. This 2019.
And they have a lot of them, and it's a database.
It's a whole database. It's one the wines they've been rating for, all the wines that they've been rating for the last 20 years.
This is the highest rated. So
the
that's,
one we're tasting is the highest rated.
Well, I mean, this is the like epitome of his statement. Then, I mean, for $24.99, this is the best rated Lambrusco by British wine critic, Jancis Robinson.
Yeah, by her team.
By her team in her entire database. So,
in her entire database.
If you want to try Lambrusco, you pretty much just start at the top with this one. It sounds like.
Yeah, but that's not it yet.
No,
so,
there's more.
Yes. So you mentioned it already. So. Wine Enthusiast gave it 95 points.
Right.
And along with this Lambrusco, the Leclisse and Redici.
Right.
These are both got 95 points. These are the highest rated Lambruscos in Wine Enthusiast database. The 2019 vintages of these wines.
Okay.
So basically, these are the best Lambruscos ever. And we both have them in the store, and now you can see why Walter Speller was so passionate about them. So Leclisse is $25, Redici is $22. Not both are 95-point rated wines. Napa Cabs don't exist. 95
at that rating,
at
that price point, yeah.
They don't have 88-point wines from Napa Valley that get that retail at this price point. And I don't know why, when you have a choice between a mediocre, expensive Napa Valley Cab or something great like this, why you would choose Napa Valley Cab. This to me,
I think people choose the familiar, but that's a pity. This is a delicious, I think, summer wine. If you want a little fizz.
But look at the fun pairings that we came up with. Obviously, with a Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, yes.
Yeah.
Prosciutto di Modena, tortellini, great. Then it has home cured salami, and
anything with kind of balsamic, kind of fig sauces, which actually, we make a lot of food like that since we have a fig.
A lot of kind of, especially when friends sometimes sit in the backyard. And they make small plates, cheese platters and prosciutto platters.
Yes, perfect.
Well, here's the perfect wine for that.
Yeah, and I think it's supposed to get hot soon, so it's ideal.
And it's not all often that you see people go for Lambrusco, and rightfully so, because like we were saying, many examples and the reputation was so low on these wines. So right now, I think it's actually a great time to snatch them, because after 95.1 scores. Those wines do not go lower in price.
Yeah, they keep going up, right?
They go up in price fast and exponentially. So
cool. Well,
so
this
spectacular Lambrusco.
Yeah, spectacular wine. All right. Well, I know we have some final kind of things to share.
Yeah. So should we?
We should probably stop sharing the map. Yeah, I'm terrible at multitasking.
People want to see you.
There we are. Okay. All right. So awesome. Thanks for joining us for this Lambrusco promo. Hopefully you're convinced. A couple of additional things. So Igor, you released a newsletter, Father's Day Fine Wine Picks.
Yes.
Great collection. So check that out. And then our tasting room is resuming operations on the 19th of June. So join us from 1 to 4 p.m. I think we're starting with French wines, right?
French wines, yes.
Yep, so
that's
classic.
The theme.
Yeah, classic theme. So, grand reopening of tasting room.
Yeah, come in. Yeah, we'll taste some wines, and you could pick up the Lambruscos if they're still in stock.
Yes, awesome. All right, thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.